Today, our focus is going to be centered on global trends in higher education. And so I urge us to ask ourselves throughout our conversations today if we're balancing these conversations with our responsibilities to local Indigenous peoples in our home countries.
And we need to understand that the university is a space which can be governed by different rules. We can have that humanizing conversation. We can model that responsibility, that access, that inclusion, and we can kind of lead the way in society.
Are we teaching our students cultural competencies they will need in an increasingly complex world? Are our program structures and their mode of delivery adequate for a generation of lifelong learners who will need increasingly more flexible learning opportunities?
Throughout human history, information has been limited, difficult to access, and expensive. But 10 years ago, that situation radically reversed. Information is now virtually unlimited, it's ubiquitous, and it's free. So the notion of a classroom, of someone who looks like me, with a full beaker of information, pouring little bits of information into your empty beakers of my students, and then asking them to regurgitate it on command to show that they have learned it, is, to be generous, atavistic, to be brutal, it's absurd.
One of the greatest developments over the last 10, 15 years has been the way in which teaching and learning has sort of deepened into the academic disciplines.
By the time we get to the end of the semester, if somebody's not doing well, we think that's the faculty's problem as much as the student's problem.
I'm going through this with my grade 12 son who's going to be going to college next year, but I'm pretty convinced now, having gotten to know his class and who can do what, that you're not accepting all the right students. And I really worry as an employer that if you're not accepting them, then I'm not going to see them.
There are too many cases of fluent fools, of those who know the grammar and vocabulary of a language quite well, but they're interculturally incompetent in knowing how to navigate.
Do we understand the question related to equity and equitable participation for the most underserved students in our countries?
It has always astonished me that academics who value research over everything else, whose data of their own is precious to them, completely ignore all data related to teaching.
We cannot separate technology from humanism, and we cannot separate humanism from technology. We've got to put the two together.
Higher education cannot be only the custodians of the super wealthy and the privileged in any society. It has to be opened up. And if it's not opened up, we get the nasty populism that's growing and taking over much of the world.
So I just wanted you to really raise a glass and say, let's hear it and celebrate your role in creating the next generation of truth seekers.